I've known this female probably for a good 13, 14 years. Her name was Punch-Hole female. It's probably one of our biggest females, biggest horns in the area as well. And a reason why I called her Punch-Hole, she had a nice round circle hole through her ear and the right ear. So she was definitely in the prime of her life. I would say she was a good maybe 20 or so, sort of past prime, but I would say between 15 and 20 roughly. Now the reason for removing the eyes, it's sort of a signature to certain poaching syndicates and so on. And it also depends, a lot of them depends on witchcraft and sangomas and so on. So it depends on which sangoma they've used, and they will a lot of times say, listen, if you've made the kill, before you remove the horn, you need to take out the eyes, because the animal spirit will still be alive in the area, and that's going to mean bad luck for you. By removing the eyes, the spirit of the animal can't really see, and therefore it enhances their luck basically. So this spot over here, we believe this is where the actual shooting also happened. The angle is where the poachers probably stood on that open clearing, and they fired through this area over here, and then they hit a frontal shot at an angle, about 45 angle, straight through the heart, smacked the shoulder blade, and then ricocheted back, breaking the neck. So when the bullet came back, it actually broke the spine, and she dropped on the spot. You could also see the way she fell. So she was almost instantly incapacitated and basically dead. And then what was quite bad about this one is they did what they call, they do spinal cuts. So they cut the back, and then just above the head, and then this rhino eyes were also removed, hacked out with a machete or a knife. The spinal cut, what that actually does is just opening up the carcass so the hyenas and stuff can actually get in, and that's what they want, because once you've got a group of 5 or 6 or 8 hyenas, all the poachers' tracks will just get basically disappeared. And the period, like I said, 3 days already, with eventually when the vultures came, when we were on site, eventually there was 1 or 2 vultures and so on. The whole scene came to a dead end. So yeah, so she was shot here, and we believe what could have happened with the calf is, obviously they've got a very tight bond between mother and calf, and either they did want to shoot the calf but they had very, very small horns, but we believe that they were sort of debating about it, but the calf was in the way. Being around mum, very noisy. Normally they'll distress calls. I mean, you guys have probably heard young calves distress calling and so on, and they shot her, but the shot was very bad, so it missed all the vitals, but it went through the liver, and that caused it eventually to die at a later stage and so on. Yeah. The horn itself, you can see those guys have actually done it before. Perfectly clean cut, no hacking with a machete or whatever. It was a beautiful, nice, if I can call it beautiful, but a very, very clean cut. But also, when we believe that this could have happened during daytime, because the guys had time. They had time to go and look, because the branches that was used to cover the carcass was branches broken by elephants. They didn't go and cut the branches, so they covered it up and had enough time. A piece of the bone and the cartridge will actually come out with it. So then when they out of the reserve, then they'll have to go and clean it and cut it clean and so on. So yeah, very, very clean cut. You can see the second one as well, very, very clean. Normally the guys will either use knives and machetes or axes and so on. Yeah. I would say the minimum caliber the guys are using normally is a 375. From there it goes up 458. Right. We had one case where it was a 404 Jeffrey.
Is it?
Yeah, which is an extremely rare caliber in South Africa, but a very common caliber in Mozambique. All of your professional hunters and your hunters and so on will use the 404s there. It's the same in South Africa. Our go-to caliber, because it's fairly cheap but still effective rifles, is 375. But the guys will normally 375. Also, the rounds are fairly cheap, easy to come by. You can see the guy that did the shooting of this animal. He's done it before. It was perfect shot placement straight through the heart. I mean, the heart was like a pulp, just a mess, right. Actually. Yeah. And also for them, if you do a perfect hard lung shot, but even just a lung shot, they cough up. I mean, it's under huge pressure, and the volume of blood they cough up through the nostrils, so it leaves a perfect blood trail for the guys. And most of those guys are experienced trackers as well, so they actually can follow the blood trail very, very easily. So that's sort of the safest shot. And then sometimes they'll try what they call a spinal shot, so they'll try and shoot high. But most of the cases we've seen is because of they use suppressors and also mainly silencers. So when they do shoot with a bolt action, your canister is massive. You can imagine a big caliber like that, so it's about that size thick. So the guys can't really see through the sight, so they actually need to learn how to aim above the canister actually to try. So you see a lot of your shots are actually high. So they aim where they think they should, but they'll still aim, especially if they're a little bit of a distance away. Then the shot will be high, sometimes missing, and we've had 2 or 3 rhinos actually survive through being shot but high, missing all the vitals, and they're still walking with the projectiles in them. Even with a suppressor or a silencer, it's a very loud bang compared to almost shooting a 30-06 rifle without a silencer. But what it actually does, it takes away that echoing, so it's in the immediate area. So if you within I would say 500 meters radius, you'll definitely hear it. It's that loud, but I mean, if you shoot over here with a 375 without anything, you're going to hear it for a few kilometers, and especially if it's at night time, the sound travels. I think, you can correct me, there's any private reserve that actually started using the triangular shot detection method. I know in Kruger National Park they did a few spots and it was successful. So yeah, definitely if we employ something in a reserve like this, definitely will be successful. I mean,
they're working on they had the one, but they're working on a mobile one. So you had the installation and that's set, but the problem was, you can't move it. And now they are working on a smaller type of thing that you can put in.
Like Pierre said, that was the only big hiccup, is once it's stationary, it's stationary. So if you want to move it, that is a big problem. And the ideal would be if you can get it up and running and mobile, to actually move it to where your high densities of rhinos are moving, because different time of the year, rainfall, water, grazing, all that stuff, the animals will move around. They sometimes form a specific pattern, but you then actually have to almost follow where they're actually moving and so on. Like hoping and praying that the guys were coming. Because we've had some luck with your cameras that you guys have sponsored. I mean, I think we've sent it through last year, those 3 guys. Now the interesting part about, that's what I actually wanted to mention to you guys now, the information we got from that camera, we kept in and we obviously passed on to the police force, but unfortunately it was a shot from the back. But not going into too much detail, that guy was linked to poaching in Tabazimbi, Alice Russ area. And then he was later seen also through trap cameras, trail cameras, north of Alice Russ on a farm. But they came from trying to poach rhino, and then they walked past a guy's water trough, a cattle farmer, and he had a perfect shot. And then obviously they used the footage and they could link it. So yeah, just through that one picture, it helped us a lot.